WWE attempts to bring the incredible stunts from sports entertainment and build an enjoyable video game around it. More work has been put in to improve the flow of matches since last year's entry, and it pays off big time. It isn't perfect, nothing is, but it is a huge step up for the franchise with a massive package featuring well over 200 wrestlers. It seems to have even dodged most of 2K's microtransaction fervor. It's got a new roguelike mode that has me itching to play more. So let's go over all that is new and see why I think this one is definitely worth picking up in the XboxEra review of WWE 2K24. First off, the game modes. You've got MyRise. It's the story mode. It's got two different branches. There's Unleashed and Undisputed. My Faction, the card-filled microtransaction fest, with that new roguelike run-based mode as part of its returning competitive package. 2K Showcase of Immortals. Celebrating the soon-to-be 40 years of WrestleMania, you'll go through select matches throughout WWF/E history with period-appropriate graphical filters. MyGM, where you play as a GM, either you and 5 other people or any mix of humans and AI. You'll take over various WWE productions and choose a GM as you work to win the most fans as you book shows. Universe mode, where you will build and develop rivalries and storylines in an overall thing they're calling a sandbox mode, and then play, where you just set up a match in a wide variety of match types, using over those 200 wrestlers, dozens of arenas, and tons of customizable options. You also have options to go through and edit characters, create and download others' creations, which wasn't available during this review, and it is a massive package that will leave few fan wishes on the table. Unlike most of the people who cover video games, seemingly, I haven't followed wrestling for decades, but I have reviewed the last few WWE 2K games, and this one is by far the most feature-filled and very much the most enjoyable to play yet. For MyRise, there are now voiced cutscenes featuring actual wrestlers, mostly in the Undisputed mode. That one finds you fighting for a vacated Universal belt and feels like it had a lot more work put into it. In Unleashed, you create a female wrestler, it's a male in Undisputed, and work your way up through the local independent scene while following a very strict rule set in general on how your matches need to go. Neither of them felt, great, especially the restrictive nature of Unleashed, where winning a match doesn't matter. You must complete the objectives in order and then win. My Faction returns with a key change that has me itching to play more, because I am a sucker for roguelikes, and they've added a run-based mode where you use your roster to try and complete a lightly randomized series of matches. 2K Showcase of Immortals is a loving look back through the history of WrestleMania, starting with an early match that you'll play with a heavy CRT filter effect, and I really enjoyed it. In some modes, you will see a little bit of Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar, as it was too late to fully remove them from the game after recent allegations came out, but they are gone as playable characters in any mode as far as I could tell. MyGM felt similar, though a big benefit for a lot of the modes is a new lack of requiring contracts. It was a mediocre system that was more of a hassle than something interesting, and I think it really helps that they got rid of it. The Universe mode is interesting if a little basic. You select a wrestler and start building up storylines and rivalries for them. It's mostly menu-based, but it is another good excuse to have some less randomized feeling matches. Finally, the mode I mostly played was simply called Play. Setting up a 1v1, 2v2, all the way through 30-man Battle Royale matches is quite easy, with customizable rule sets and a huge amount of venues. You'll need to play through various modes to unlock a lot of those venues, and while the game does have a very large roster, the over 200, there still are a little bit that's stuck behind DLC. We were given the Deluxe Edition, which offered up a handful of wrestlers and promised 5 future update packs as well. But one of the biggest areas of improvement in the game is the flow of the fighting. They still go for that realistic wrestling look, but you feel more in control. It's going to feel familiar to anyone who has played the last few entries, with X being used for light attacks, A for heavy, B for grapples, and Y being your counter button. Controls are mostly the same, but everything just feels snappier and more predictable. Gone are the hilarious to watch but infuriating to experience bugs, as far as I can tell. Also, I put in dozens of hours over the 4 days I had for this for the embargo, and I only saw a few instances of physics breaking. Even then, things would quickly snap back to behaving right. You can customize damn near everything, but I didn't feel like I needed to with the base characters, because depending on their size and their style, their movesets make sense no matter who they're fighting. Like if you're playing as someone small, and they will have power moves against other smaller people. But if your opponent goes up in weight class, they'll focus on strikes and trips, and this goes for anyone, where the big guys will toss the small fries around like they weigh nothing, but show appropriate effort if it's a fellow tank. There's also an easy-to-understand stamina circle that shows up whenever you're doing a big show of strength or just like holding someone up. Pretty much anything that requires a lot of oomph to pull off. The game features a comprehensive tutorial to walk you through all of its gameplay systems. I did every single one except for the attack from the middle rope one, which just never completed. It was kind of annoying. It is a complicated grappler, and you can tell the developers love sports entertainment. It's not fake, but it is scripted and or choreographed stunt work that beats the shit out of the bodies of the people who perform them. WWE 2K24 feels like a love letter to all the hard work that those people have put in over the decades. You feel the showmanship while you're playing it without being frustrated over losing control too often like I felt in the previous entries. Graphically, the game is beautiful. Playing on a Series X, the likenesses are damn near perfect, going for an almost but not quite photorealistic look. Seeing the differences between personas / eras for different wrestlers, like all the various Undertakers or young Rhea Ripley versus her current look, is a testament to how much flipping work it seems like they put into everything. $70 every year is a big ask, and I get it if people like to wait on a sale. But playing this one, I never really felt like when I was watching ring entrances or going through the menus or seeing the recreations of the various classic WrestleMania matches that any part of this game feels phoned in. Hell, even the commentary is great. It's not repetitive, nor does it ever get in the way. I didn't feel like they recorded 15 or 20 lines for certain situations and you just hear them over and over again. It's a theme throughout everything in the game where nothing feels forced. Even the UI is slick, but it's not overdone. They're okay with having a very clear color selection and not making everything a moving video that ends up feeling like a mess to navigate through. There was a clear vision on how they wanted WWE 2K24 to feel, and that is like the classics, but properly representing modern gaming and modern wrestling. The voice acting during the MyRise segments is fine for what it is. William Regal starts out as your mentor, depending on how you choose to go, and I could probably see myself playing it through, because I never felt turned off by any part of this game, and even the tougher matches weren't cheap feeling. As long as I timed my counters correctly and didn't leave myself open too often, I could win more often than I lost, even in situations where my character's skill level was lower than the competition. I guess my only real complaint would be how half of MyRise and the Universe mode feel underwhelming compared to the rest. We also could not really play online or do much with the creation system during the review period, so you are going to want to make sure to check that out online to see how it all is working post-launch. Wrapping things up, WWE 2K24 is the best wrestling game that Visual Concepts has ever made by far. They have a complete package with a massive roster and a very clear vision. If you've held off on upgrading at launch the last few years, I think this one is the time to jump in.